I also want to get real quick at something you mentioned there. It does seem that the ATF's position on this, it does feel, and I was at Stephen Dettlebach, the new director's speech to NSSF at SHOT Show this week. And he reiterated this idea that when you first submitted your brace in 2012, the ATF, took that as this is a device to help disabled people be able to shoot guns accurately and better. And then it's turned into something from their point of view that is sort of taking advantage of a loophole, I think is how a lot of
it's not just
the people at the top of the ATF feel about it.
It's not only,
so what's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's what he said at the meeting. I think what's important to read inside, and I've got this 293-page document in front of me, I'm not going to quote from it, but essentially what they're saying is that the brace allows for a certain type of proliferation of firearms that the ATF thinks should not be selling. And frankly, I think we all know what that means. That's gun control, right? That's the idea that the ATF is coming out and saying, he's using the excuse of saying what? Oh, well, they invented it for one thing, but other people are using it for another.
Right.
What does that mean for the purposes of public safety? What does that mean for the purposes of an agency whose sole purpose not only is to regulate what we do and how some of these laws are interpreted, but it's certainly not, their job is certainly not to decide what types of guns should be sold and shouldn't be sold. I think everybody agrees, and I think Dettlebach would agree as well, that that's up to Congress. And essentially, what his comments are doing, and they're just proving the point that they are circumventing that process, because essentially they have become the arbiter of deciding, okay, these types of guns shouldn't be sold. We have to do something about it, and we're going to do that, and we're going to go around Congress to do that. That's ultimately the issue here. We all know that it's funny because I've been talking to Jim Jordan. I spoke to McCarthy. I spoke to Thomas Massey, who's at like the tip of the spear for this kind of stuff. But all of them are talking about what? Weaponized agencies, politicized agencies. What more grievous, show of force can we see from an agency when somebody like this comes out and says, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ban these things," and not go through Congress? That is the definition of weaponized. That they're deciding for everybody, circumventing Congress. So I get Dettlebach. I understand the position he comes from. I obviously don't agree with it. But I think it's the process through which they're doing this that's the biggest issue. You have a problem with what we're doing. What is your job as the presidential appointee? Your job is to go back to Congress, go back to the president, say, hey, these guns are fundamentally more dangerous than every other firearm. You have some kind of document that proves that, and you go through Congress to try and in his case, he would want to ban all these types of firearms. The problem is in the document itself, where they should come up with the thousands of different instances where a braced firearm was used in a crime. They come up with what? 2. They come up with 2 separate instances where, and I think their words were, the brace was used in the crime. So the brace, what about the sights? Were the sights used in the crime? Was the pistol grip used in the crime? What about the quad rail that was on the front of the firearm? Was that used in the crime as well? So what does this set us up for? It really sets us up for, and it's funny because if you go on to Feinstein's website, she says that an arm brace turns an assault rifle into an assault pistol by making it more accurate, which I believe is the first time in history where somebody is trying to ban a firearm because the product makes it more accurate. Well, what does that lead to? What's the slippery slope there, Stephen? Like, where do we go to? Are sights like the optics on a firearm next because it makes it too accurate to fire? Right. The whole thing is such a slippery slope. It's really just such a disgusting example of agencies. I don't want to say gone rogue because there's a lot of good folks at ATF that I know personally. But it's all about power. It's about trying to enforce something that was done in 1934, a long time ago, that doesn't apply to 2023. And instead of going to Congress to say, hey, we need to fix this, What do? They look at the 1934 stuff and say, hey, we have to do something about that 1934 stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It's not the way to do things.
Right. Yeah, I think you are commonly hearing this argument about different accessories or features of a firearm making it too easy to shoot as a reason why they need to be banned. And so, yeah, now you hear that a lot with in regards to AR-15 bans, what so-called assault weapons bans.
Mm-hmm.
These different features make the gun too easy to use or too easy to shoot, as the concept is to try and make it more difficult to use the firearm as accurately, which seems like certainly an odd goal. But yeah, but I will say, so like you alluded to there, part of their argument is that braced pistols are more dangerous, or I guess SBRs. These types of firearms are more dangerous because they're more concealable. Do you find that to be
let's
a legitimate concern?
Let's net that out. So, how long have AR-15 pistols been sold on the market? I know, but did you know how long more or less they've been on the market?
I mean, I remember seeing them around before braces.
Right.
Probably a pretty long time.
If you want to do a little funny, research, go back to Wayback Machine and just look up AR pistols on YouTube prior to 2012 and watch how people were shooting them, and compare that to today. Nothing's changed. They're shooting them the same way as they were back before 2012. Now, AR pistols and those types of platforms have been around since, I think it's 1974, 75. One of the first ones that came out was the Gwin arm pistol. I don't know if you're familiar with that gun or not, but it's a 5.56 pistol. It's it's about, I would say it's about 24 inches in overall length. It was intended and designed for pilots to have a rifle caliber in their cockpit if they were to, fall behind enemy lines. These guns have been around for a long, long time. I mean, it's nothing new. And I think the point that I was trying to make, and if ATF wanted to be intellectually honest, okay, the argument that they should be making, and again, people don't, come back after me and say, no, you're giving them something to, they should be going after that. But if they want to be intellectually honest, what they would say is that an AR-15 pistol is nothing but an SBR without a stock. So it's like, it's like the chicken before the egg. Okay. Right. Like, what are we talking about here?
But that's the problem with the law that they're trying to interpret, is that the law isn't about whether the gun is an AR platform, right? It's about whether it's designed and intended to be shouldered, and if it doesn't have a stock.
You said the word is intended. So if an AR-15 pistol, okay, is intended to be fired with one hand, and a brace that I invented, so I can tell you the intent is to allow you to fire that with one hand, they're going after the brace. Why aren't they going after the pistol? Well, the fact is that with this 293-page document, they're trying to go after all of those pistols, okay? And I think ultimately their fundamental goal would be to say that all of those guns in some way, shape, or form are short-barreled rifles. And you see that by them giving zero objective standards about surface area. So somebody came out with an AK pistol, a bullpup AK pistol, which looks very much like the Gwin or Bushmaster, I think is the one who took it up, the ARM pistol. It's just a compact platform. Does it have surface area in the back? Yeah, of course. I could take a mare's leg 45 long Colt, which is, I think that's considered a pistol too, and I can shoulder that as well. So is that illegal now? I mean, this is the direction they're going in. And the problem is, again, they're going about trying to solve this problem the wrong way. As usual, it's ATF. I mean, but they're trying to go after something that, in their eyes, promotes the sale of firearms that they would much rather see, go away.